Okay, so I'm just going to let her rip here, reporting in from the front. It's a kind of a nice warm day here in Iowa. Won't be warm soon. That's the way it is in Iowa, and but it's warm. Put my sheets out on the line to dry. Everything in the house is kind of damp because I guess the heat's not on yet, and just damp. So anyway, so that's it. Wanted to check in about the food situation. I weighed in at 123 this morning, which I did not want to get on the scale. I nearly didn't, but I did, and I was pleasantly surprised because it could have been 125. My behavior was not exemplary in the past few days. I had a nice breakfast with a friend of mine. After church, and I was really looking forward to it. It was, he likes, a good breakfast, so do I, and I made a nice omelet we made fried potatoes, and he had an English muffin. Let's see, a little orange juice, coffee, nice cup of coffee. Afterwards, we had some grapes. It was just a delightful time, and once again, I was having the awareness that food is a good time to sit and really converse and really, unite with other people. And, I think especially in Italy, it's known, and Europe in general, it's known as a time for people to drop what you're doing, sit down at the table, enjoy the food, but slowly, and to talk, to communicate, to get together, to reunite, and that was what we did, and I hope that we do this, once a season, something like that. Can't do it every week because we actually, we started at probably 11:30 and we didn't end until 2:30, so that's 3 hours of my day plus the preparation beforehand and the cleanup afterwards for me, and it was really a big commitment of time, but really worthwhile, and it harkened back to my youth when the family would get together at holidays, and it would be a big, meal. And my grandmother in particular was very often the person who would cook the meal. And when you cook a big meal yourself, you get greater appreciation for the love, the care, and the effort that went into these occasions, especially back then, pre-dishwasher, pre-convenience foods, everything was done from scratch, and a lot went into those things, and you gain greater appreciation. Anyway, but it's something that as our modern life goes on, sometimes we can just skip it all together. With drive-through mentality, we can skip these, effort meals, things that take intention, planning, but at the end are just so much more satisfying and really make the fabric of life richer, and yeah. So anyway, so that was it. But when I mentioned that I didn't have the English muffin, that has to do with staying away from wheat. And when I was meditating this morning, I had the awareness of being able to breathe. And breathing is not a minor thing. And I really am coming to the conclusion that I have been allergic to wheat my whole life, and that this clogged sinuses that I've experienced my entire life were a reaction to wheat. When I was a kid, having this constant runny nose, my mother took me to an allergist, and he said that I was allergic to dust. He said, and if she's allergic to dust, she's allergic to absolutely everything. So just, his suggestion to her was to keep the house dust free, which that wasn't going to happen. That was not going to happen, Even I can't keep my house dust free. And that was the day before they had air purifiers. I mean, an air purifier would be something you'd have in a hospital maybe, but not for home use. That's something I might put on my list as an investment, to get a really good air purifier, because I think I probably, if I was allergic to dust then, I probably still am. And I used to think a lot of the allergies that I had to do with pollen. They might. But we've yet to have a hard frost, and my allergies at the end of the summer when I was eating wheat were terrible. And since then, I can breathe freely, and the amount of air that we're getting into our physiology at any time, that is a major, major thing. I believe that with that congestion, I was actually depriving my body of air on a constant basis. And that by clearing up my nasal passages, by getting rid of this allergic syndrome, with every breath, I'm giving myself this life-giving air. It's not a minor thing. This is major. The other thing I did this morning was I drank my water. I poured a glass of water. Oh boy. And that had to do with getting on the scale this morning and seeing that my water level on my scale, which reports my water level, was a little low. Not way low, just a little low. And it triggered a little thought in my head, you haven't been drinking your water for the past couple days. So I poured, and I'm on my, second glass, I think, maybe even third. And that's good. Air and water. Two non-caloric items that are essential for life. And it's only through awareness and intentionality that I've, included water that I would never before. That had to do with getting the scale, which constantly reminded me how much I had, a quantity, how much water I had, and that I could improve. And eliminating wheat, and that was only through the juice fasting, where in the middle of the juice fast, when I realized my nasal passages were clear for the first time in a long time, I said, well, what is it about the juicing that has enabled me to have clear nasal passages? And the thought occurred to me, I think it's the wheat. That was just a guess, but I think I guessed right. It's an informed guess, just because I'm the one living in this body, and I'm the one who knows what it could possibly be and what I favored all the wheat products. Also the dark circles under my eyes, which I still have, but not to the extent I had at the end of the summer. I mean, I had raccoon eyes. They were scary. And that has to do with, I think, the allergic reaction of the fact that there was no oxygen here, and I was getting, it was a symptom of, oxygen starvation probably, and congestion. My uncle had the dark circles under his eyes too. He may have been allergic to wheat. I remember he had an addiction to Pepperidge Farm cookies. He had stopped smoking, and he went to the Pepperidge Farm cookies. He gained a little weight, gained weight, which happens. And but he had that cookie addiction, as did my mom. And a lot of people have a cookie addiction, but I'm talking something a little more profound, and that's the wheat addiction. And by eliminating the wheat, we're getting some progress here. So this is good. More will be revealed on that front. The other thing I wanted to report was after the breakfast yesterday, and I think the day before too, I kind of snacked instead of eating. I snacked on my low-calorie potato starch, not low-calorie, but potato starch snacks, and also my low-calorie creamsicles, mint chocolate chip. I had like 2 of those yesterday instead of having a meal. And sometimes I just get lazy. It's like, that lazy thing that, I just want to snack. I don't want to cook. I just want to snack, and I want to have some more snacks. And Tim, our friend who watches movies with us, left some corn chips, which were really salty and flavored with all this, dynamite flavoring. And I finished off those bags, and that was good. And I expected, one of the reasons I had trepidation about getting on the scale this morning was I said, I don't know if snacking is a good strategy. But I got on the scale, and I didn't gain the weight. And the other thing I wanted to report was the night before last, I had a cookie attack. And I was thinking, I'm always very devious, you know. It's like, well, I can't have wheat, but what can I have? I can have almond flour. So I go on the internet and I look up an almond flour recipe for cookies, and indeed I found that I had all the ingredients to make almond flour cookies. You know, I was going to add the chocolate chips, and I pulled back from that. I thought, no, let's just make some almond flour cookies with sugar and butter and, you know, vanilla, baking soda, salt. We got all the ingredients, so we can make some nice little tasty morsels. And then I looked at the calorie content for one cookie, one serving, which was one cookie, and it was like 105 calories. 105 calories is my creamsicle. 105 calories is a lot of my non-fat chips. And I know how I go through cookies once I make them. You know, they just keep getting eaten until they're gone. It might take a couple of days, but, you know, they're in a vanishing mode. And I just realized, no, don't do that. And I pulled myself back from doing that, and I just went to bed. In the morning I woke up and that cookie thing had gone. And that's a good thing, because I don't need cookies in the house. You know, if I can get through a long time period without the cookie monster, you know, living in the house, that's a good thing. So that was a success. Pulled away from that. I'm trying to think of any other, you know, kind of eating modalities that no, you know, not off the top of my head. That's probably about it for now. But just wanted to report that I'm so grateful to be doing these YouTube videos. I'm grateful that I'm paying attention. I actually got into the iMovie and and the YouTube beta, and I'm kind of drilling down on that, which also makes me happy. And you know, so a lot of progress is being made, and you know, it's good that, you know, we have these tools of communication now, and journaling works for me. We're so far so good. So anyway, so I'm gonna go back to my day and see how it goes. Drink more water. Yum. And report in again. Okay.